What's up everyone, welcome back to the channel and to this review of Quantum by Wavesfactory, and this has got to be one of the most insane plugins out there. It can do so much stuff, it's crazy. It is advertised as a sort of transient designer, so to speak, but it's way more than that, because on one hand you have these 16 different effects that you can add, and on the other, each of these attack and sustain is a different signal flow, and you basically can add 16 different effects to both the attack and the sustain. And the amount of insane sounds you can get out of this is incredible. There's so much stuff you can do with this. You can even ignore the attack and sustain and get weird sounds by just manipulating your incoming signal with one of these things, and I'll go through most of them. I have a drum example here, but you'll see that you can get some sounds that are not necessarily drum-like based on that. In terms of the interface itself, it's quite simple, which is nice. You have the attack section and the sustain section, and they're just mirrored image of the same thing. So you have a solo button to hear only the attack, and a solo button to only hear the sustain, and then the attack knob either off or completely exaggerating it at 12 dB. Same with the sustain. And then in the middle, sensitivity mode, because it can go drums, general, and really soft, and decay, hold, and the number of beats shown. And this is going to make more sense once I actually engage the plugin and have some sound going through it, which I'm going to do now. And as far as the beats shown, 4x at default seems a bit too quick for me, so I'm usually holding it on 8, and it shows like this. And basically with sensitivity you can get more hits or fewer hits. With the decay, so this almost acts as a sort of attack on the compressor. If it's too short, it won't let most of those transients in, and if it's too much, it's going to let everything in, and you might not necessarily get the desired results. The 100 millisecond default is good. You can go lower if you feel that the transients are short enough. And then you also have a hold. And as you can see, this mostly affects the sustain portion of the sound. If you wanted to hold on for longer, so you get more of that sustain coming in or not. And you do get in the graph, you have this sort of orange, yellow light and bluish Luke Skywalker lightsaber color in this, so you can actually see what's going on both fronts. And if I just push the attack a bit, you kind of get that sound. With less of it, you get more of the kind of room sound and the sustain of all of those hits. Let's try that with the sustain. Or the opposite. So as you can see, it clips. This is the one feature that I would like for the plugin to have, a sort of soft clipper at the end. You can add limiters to both of these parameters, but it's not kind of built into the program. So hopefully one of the future updates will have that button here, or it might be here, but I could not find it. Let's also see what the solo buttons do. So they literally just show you what part of the sound you're focusing on with either of these modules. Down below you have a mix knob, which is amazing. Every plugin should have a mix knob. I'm still surprised that some of them don't. And you have an output. So if you do see that it's clipping, you can bring it down a bit, but it's not the same thing. So let's say I exaggerate this a bit and take the sustain down a bit. And I really like the impact of that, but I just want a bit of that original sound coming in. So let's say it's like 70%. So you can do that as well. But the meat and potatoes of this plugin actually lies hidden initially. You have all of these modules. So what I'm going to do is use some of them on this drum loop. Let's say I have just a bit more attack. I'm going to keep the sustain. And then just for the attacks, those sharp transients, I'm going to start doing some things. So I'm going to first put an enhancer, and this is taken from Spectre, and it's kind of an EQ slash saturation plugin, and it does quite amazing things to the attack. Let's solo it. And I'm going to turn the output down just a bit. It just brings that initial attack a bit more to the forefront. And let's also add a bit of EQ, again, just to the attack. I want it to be sharp and pokey, so maybe I'm going to add a bit of 3K, a bit wider to make it a bit more musical. And then there's a sort of low thump that I don't like. And I did lose a bit of low end, so let's kind of boost a bit around here. So that's one tone you can get with this. Then what we could also do is add a bit of lo-fi just to make it a bit more crunchy. Love that. Then what we could also do is add just some normal saturation. Make it a bit more dynamic to respond dynamically to what's happening. And just a bit goes a long way. Then at the end, what we could also do is add some stereo tools and basically just make sure that the sides are off. I just want the attack to be dead center. Let's hear what that sounds like. Just makes it a bit more focused. And then at the end, let's add a limiter. And as you can see, you can also move these things around. I'm going to keep the EQ on first, enhance. This is basically the chain. And let's kind of hear a before and after. It's just so much more in your face, and it sounds really cool. And if you can see up here, it's only 0.3% CPU use, so this is surprisingly low for something that can do this much. And now let's see what we can do with the sustain. I'm gonna add a compressor on this. Let a bit of that transient come through, super short release, make it a bit more grabby, and then maybe just add a bit of that in. Just makes it a bit more energetic. I do feel that it's moving a bit too fast, so let's see what we can do with the release. Yeah, love that. Okay, let's see. We could also add a bit of enhancement to this. Again, mostly on the top. A bit of extra sizzle. Then EQ again. Let's get rid of some of those nasty mid-range tones. Love that. We could also do something really interesting with the convolution, and let's see, they have quite a few here. And CD, this one sounds really good, and you can drag and drop your own files, which is pretty cool. Love that. Let's add a bit of saturation. Again, a bit more dynamic. Let's say we do asymmetric. And I'm gonna add this before the convolution. Then let's actually do the opposite. Let's get rid of some of the mid. And I'm again gonna do this before the reverb. And then let's also add a limiter. Now let's hear a before and after with all of those plugins engaged. And with all of this stuff on, it still hovers at around 0.9%. I mean, listen to how tame the original sounds. I mean, I'm gonna leave the attack on just to give it just a bit of a chance, but come on. And let's just be 100% fair with it. Without it, it's peaking at 8.8, so let's kind of trim this down a bit. It just has a completely different vibe. And what I want to do is also test the limits of this in terms of CPU when we have absolutely everything engaged. That's a crazy sound. It almost sounds like a synth now. And you can see it's 3.5%, so it is substantial, and there's quite a lot of delay compensation going on, but it's still for all of this stuff. So at the moment, it's running the attack and sustain portion, and then it's also running 32 different effects, and it's only hovering at 3.4. I mean, you could probably get a good sounding mix if you throw this on all of your tracks, but if you're working on drums, this will give you everything that you need and then some. So that's my review of Quantum. This is a fantastic plugin. Get the demo, try it out. It's absolutely amazing, and also in true 2021 fashion, it is resizable. You gotta love vector graphics. So let me know what you think about the plugin in the comments below. Let me know what you think about the video, and until next time, thanks for watching.